I was in the car the other day. Pops was in the car, my daughter. She's 5, for those who don't already know. And I was screwing around with my phone. Like, I was trying to do something. I think I was looking for, it happened to be on the podcast app, and I was looking to click on something else, but I clicked on our podcast. And it was like halfway through an episode or something where I just, and so our voices, she could obviously tell it was us. And in the back seat, she just says, "Ugh, Mom, it's that chatty adult talk again." So just an FYI as to what she thinks of us.
I thought we were friends.
I thought so too, but apparently it's really boring chatty adult talk.
Wow.
Just so you know what we're up to.
Damn.
But in fairness, it probably is a little weird. I mean, like, her mom builds a blanket fort, usually on a Monday night, and puts her to bed and then talks to her friends in it. So I hope she doesn't actually say that to, like, her teacher, because that would be weird.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Murder Friends, the podcast where 3 friends from 3 different countries talk about murder. My name's Alana, and I'm Canadian.
I'm Anna, and I'm American.
My name's Hannah, and I'm British.
So sit back and relax, you're among friends, and let's talk murder. Now, it's not technically murder, but I almost died on the weekend because of my own choices.
Excuse me.
Oh my God.
That's a bit dramatic, maybe. Okay, so I live stream video games on Twitch, and I was trying to think of something that would be funny to do so I can kind of do something different like once a month instead of just video games. And I thought I would do my own hot ones where you have chicken wings that go up in spiciness and you like answer questions and stuff as you're eating these chicken wings. So I got sauces from Tesco, and I think it was like 5 or 6 different ones. Got the wings all ready. I actually do it in this office. Got my wings all ready. And my partner really likes spicy food, and he tried like putting his finger in the spiciest one, number 6, just to like have an idea of what I was going to be eating. And he immediately starts crying, and he's like spitting it in the sink. And at this point, I've already decided like this is what I'm doing, so we're gonna have to do it. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys are into like the ultimate spicy foods, but I genuinely thought like this is the end. I have made a big mistake.
Like, what have I done?
The final one, because of course the ones leading up to it are really spicy, and so your mouth is already like on fire and whatever. And the final one was called scorpion and passion fruit. And I was so nervous because I like spicy foods, but not painfully spicy. Like, I never got into I don't want my food to hurt me.
Yeah.
So I had the final wing. I was eating it, and it was actually okay. So I was like, okay, maybe my mouth is like so coated that I just can't taste it anymore. So I ate the whole wing, like dusted it off. It was perfectly cleaned. But apparently with that sauce, it starts off with the passion fruit. So it's almost like a sweet flavor. And then literally like 2 minutes later, you get the scorpion side of it. And I can't describe. My whole, like my lips and my tongue swelled up. So it was like I looked like I just had my face done, and I had to get frozen peas from the freezer just to put on my face because
Was this all live too?
Yeah,
so
this is
live.
Yeah.
This is even better.
Live for strangers on the internet. And
amazing.
If you guys are into spicy stuff, go to Tesco, the whatever sauce aisle. Scorpion and passion fruit. Oh my God. Like tears running down my face, lips swollen. I finally, the frozen peas weren't doing anything anymore, so I found yogurt in the fridge, and I smeared yogurt all over my mouth and my face. Because it was just like, I genuinely thought, like, this is the night I'm, spoiled.
This is it for
This
me.
is the end.
Yeah, like.
We're done here. Yeah. Wow.
If you're into spicy stuff, I mean, give it a shot. I can't imagine anybody would actually, like, willingly eat that stuff. I feel like it's only, like, for novelties because Jesus Christ.
In Key West, Florida, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be a hot sauce bar So it literally just has tons of hot sauce. And you can literally sit around a bar, right? And you bring your own beer.
Oh, nice.
So
Of
you bring
course.
your beer, and they have tortilla chips. And they start you out low. And then they start to give you like hotter and hotter and hotter. And I remember having like a hot sauce off with like this guy I was dating, and he was like a Marine. And he was like crying his eyes out, and I was like, bitch, this is easy. I was like, what's wrong with you? But yeah, no, but then but what I was saying is they have stuff there that is one drop makes an entire vat of chili spicy. Like that's that level. And it could be one of those sort of like hot sauces that you're really only supposed to use like a drop.
That's just so dangerous, though.
I know. There's stuff
I think that I can like handle spicy food, but I can't.
Yeah.
So I think like, oh, I'm gonna be fine, and then I'm like not. I'm just the worst.
Yeah, I used to quite like it more, but nowadays I think I just want to like taste my food more. So I like still flavorful spicy. I do like spicy. I literally put sriracha on absolutely everything from breakfast to dinner. I go through like those huge tubs of sriracha on everything. But yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not so keen on the just fire mouth.
Yeah, it's gotta taste good.
And the fact that like your lips were like swelling, I was like, why are we doing this? Like, but yeah, you want spicy? Check out the scorpion and passion fruit. And I mean, maybe don't try it at home, but also try it.
So for true crime news this week, I've got two for you. The first one comes from the UK. It happened in Devon. So on the 3rd of January, 53-year-old Catherine Bevan was found dead in a bull pen. She was a veterinary pharmacist and been working and living at Coombe Farm in Gittisham, which is a horse breeding and training facility, and she'd been living there for about a year. Initially, her death was described as unexplained, and it was being treated as non-suspicious. But 2 weeks later, a 26-year-old man was arrested following the post-mortem and has been remanded in custody. The major crime team in Exeter launched a murder investigation into the death of Catherine. So the suspect was also charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm following an incident in Exeter that happened on the 20th of January. And he'd been living on the farm for about 3 weeks, and people described him as being very pleasant and nothing objectionable about him.
That's so
Which
British.
I think is such a strange... Imagine, like, that was the only thing that people can say about you. Nothing objectionable about you. And you're like, wow. That's not how I want to be remembered.
Yeah, it's pretty indifferent, isn't it?
Yeah, I just find it like... I don't know whether it's rude.
I don't have anything bad to say, but I don't have anything good to say either.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, he was nice. That was it. So the farm owner, Michael Harris, has expressed his complete shock at the incident and described Catherine as a lovely and wonderful person. And he also noted that the bull who resided in the pen she was found in is called Jumbo. And he's called the bull, and I put this in quotes, quiet as a lamb. And he never caused any trouble to any of my workers, although, of course, bulls can act in unpredictable ways. He also then said he found it odd that she was found in the pen, adding, that does not mean that she died in the pen.
Oh.
And it's like, oh, excuse me?
He said he had more to say about the bull than he did the guy.
Yeah.
Like,
He was like, Jumbo, quiet as a lamb. That man? Unobjectionable. Nothing objectionable. So a local woman who didn't want to be named, which is my favourite type of person in these like small town like news articles, is quoted as saying, I was told that she did not have a mark on her, so we thought she might have had a heart attack in the pen. Others thought she may have been trampled by the bull, but there was no obvious wounds. I'm really shocked that the police are saying this is murder. And it's like, okay.
But you
What
just
do you
said,
think?
if you just said she's in a pen and she has no obvious wounds, and they goes, oh, but it can't be murder. Like, girl, have you not seen CSI? Like, yeah.
Exactly. So that was the first piece we had. And the second piece, Anna shared this on our group chat. And as this podcast is effectively our group chat, I thought I'd add this into the true crime news section. So the headline from ABC7 is Mum of Two or mom of two. Mom of two missing Idaho kids found in Hawaii with new husband, children still missing. So police in Hawaii have located Lori Vallow with her new husband, Chad Daybell. Lori's two children, 17-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old Joshua Vallow, had been missing since September 2019. So Lori was served with a document ordering her to produce the children by a certain date, and police also executed a search warrant, but neither Lori or Chad have been arrested or charged with anything at this point. So I think it's a developing story at the moment, and I think it's one we should probably keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's so eerie. The fact that they've been missing since September and now January. Oh, like, God.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. To not have your kids.
Yeah, Lori had been really uncooperative with police. Initially, she said that her son was staying with a friend in Arizona, but that turned out to be a lie. It's also reported that she told people that her daughter died a year ago, her 17-year-old daughter.
Oh my God.
And as if this isn't already a bizarre story, Lori's estranged husband was shot and killed by Lori's brother last summer. And then Lori's brother died of an undisclosed cause in December 2019.
Jesus.
Wow.
It gets worse. Lori and Chad were married 2 weeks after Chad's late wife Tammy passed away in October 2019.
Shit.
And Tammy's family said that she had passed away from, quote, natural causes, but police in Idaho have organised for her remains to be exhumed and investigated.
Yeah, this is awful. I bet this is going to be a huge...
It's
like a movie.
Yeah.
I was reading, there's an article in the Daily Mail as well, which I didn't want to use or link or anything, but I will do now because I'm going to talk about it. But it said that there was almost, cult stuff going on.
What?
Yeah. I didn't read it in full because I try not to stay on the Daily Mail website.
I know, it's terrible.
Because, ew. But no, I think it's just the oddest story in a really long time.
I reckon, and we'll probably know the truth eventually, I think it started... way back, and she must have played victim or something to her brother. Maybe this is what I reckon anyway. All my detective skills from the 2-minute article that you've just read to us. And so then she got basically maybe manipulated the brother into killing her ex-husband, get him out of the way, or estranged husband, get him out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously the other guy, the new guy, killed his wife. Made it look like natural causes. I still don't know what happened to the brother. I don't know. This is all alleged, by the way. Obviously, I have no idea.
This is strange, though, because it's if the two children were young children, say they were 7 and 9, I can understand it, being really scary and terrible. But one of them's 17 years old.
I know.
So it's they could be somewhere together. I doubt it.
You would have find that it doesn't sound good, does it?
No, it's just...
No, it's horrible.
It's odd.
How can you...
It's like it's like the two of them met and said, let's just get rid of our current lives and our current families and let's start fresh together. It's just so creepy.
Yeah, it's terrible. You do think possibly... Because you think a 17-year-old at this point would have alerted someone. Cause
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
The news is everywhere. It's quite big news now because it's such a,
Yeah, or someone would have come forward saying, so-and-so is staying with us.
Yes, at this point. So it doesn't look very good, which is just horrific.
No, I think we'll wait until see whether or not she can produce the children, and then we'll do an update.
Definitely. You still coughing?
A little bit, yeah. I've also had, which came on yesterday while I was at work, a cold.
Oh, jeez.
But I had to go. I had a checkup this morning at the dentist because I never miss a checkup because my dentist is fucking hot. And I was lying in bed last night with I chugged a Lemsip, and then I had Olbutoil tissue stuffed up my nose, and I was like, I would not be sick for a hot dentist. And I got there, and I got there, and I was feeling I was feeling okay. And then I sat back in the chair, and he did the checkup and did the X-rays and everything. And then he showed me a mirror because I've cracked a filling at the back, which I didn't know I'd done. It's a really old one. And he gave me a mirror, and he was showing me what I'd done. and what he wanted to, like, how he wanted to fix it. And I was like, I'm really enjoying, like, being this close to our dentist. And then I, like, panned the mirror up slightly, and I could see that my nose was just, like, peeling, and I had, like, a little bit of, like, dried book, and I was like, I want to kill myself in front of our dentist. Genuinely devastated that this is happening to me. But I have to go back to get my filling replaced.
Oh,
so,
there you go. Are you just, like, cracking your teeth on purpose now?
Yeah, part of me was just like, can someone punch me in the face? Because then I get
Please punch me.
Sorry.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, dentist. He's mine. No one else can have him.
Yeah, I was like, where do you go to the dentist, girl? I need a checkup.
I'm not telling you. You got chatted up. You got chatted up by the jeweler that never chats me up. His dentist has never chatted me up. I'm not telling you where my dentist is. But he's really, really good, though. Like, he's a really good dentist.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Shame you'll never meet him.
Sounds like it. On today's episode, we are going to review and talk about Netflix's new 3-part docuseries that explores the rise and fall of New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez, called The Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez. Now, I think Americans will probably know quite a bit about this story. I don't know. Did you guys know anything about this before today, or did you watch it?
American football is pretty big in Canada because, unfortunately, everything America does, Canada's like, ooh, that's interesting. So a lot of people watch American football instead of Canadian football. So I know we always did in my house. My dad watches a lot of football. And I actually texted him because I know we were sort of talking about watching this documentary. And I sat down. I was like, I'm just going to bash this out. I ended up watching it all like over a couple nights. And I texted my dad because I know he's always looking for interesting stuff to watch. I'm like, hey, I know you like football. Netflix has this new documentary about Aaron Hernandez, kind of true crime thing. I thought you might be interested, and I'm going to start watching it tonight. And he texts me back like immediately, and he's like, oh, yeah, I watched that last week when it came out. It was pretty good. I was like, oh, all right, well, okay. I guess.
Thanks, Dad.
Like,
thanks for waiting for me.
That's funny. Yeah, you're right. So the NFL is quite big. It's in America. It's huge. For those that are listening elsewhere, it's, it'd be like the sort of Premier League in England with football, and the Patriots would be a bit like Man United. They've won the most. I believe they've won the most Super Bowls. They have. Yeah, they're the best team. I would say one of the best.
Do you
teams.
think that American football's bigger than like football here?
yes.
No.
Like in terms of scale?
Oh, sorry. Scale, yes, because two things there. Worldwide, no. But in America, as far as like the thing is, in America, women and men are really into it, like massively. Women are a lot more into like sports, and like you'll see them all at the games, and they're really, really into it, like watching it. As opposed to here, you don't get very many women who are that into like soccer, football, So as a whole of the country, it's massive. And they're really into also college football or universities. That's huge as well. That's just as big as the NFL. So
Yeah, even high school.
Even high school, yeah.
That's one of the big things between Canada and the U.S. in terms of like football, because American football, whatever, I'm gonna get confused calling them whatever. Anyway, so Canada has the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League, and football is quite popular at colleges and stuff, but not nearly as large. And high school football is like you run around on a little tiny field, like it's nothing. Whereas you go like to Florida, and they have these huge high school football stadiums, like just like for high schoolers. It's such a huge business, and it's just like a part of the culture and stuff too.
It is. That's a big thing. So you're in high school and you go to the Friday night football games, and there's the cheerleaders, there's the dance team, there's the marching band, everyone. I mean, the stadium's packed, and every high school has it. It's a big thing. It's a really big deal for the community, especially even more so in smaller communities. So it will be like literally what the town revolves around. It's a big deal. So at home, it's like you're born and bred football. Like, it's a big deal. Just, similar to like football in England, like soccer, but not in the scale. Like, we, as a culture, Americans are really pushed sport from like a little age, like a small age. I don't know about Canada, but they're just, your life revolves around sport so much more there. Anyway, so you can kind of see how that plays out in Aaron's story and in his childhood. Massively, that kind of shows it, is demonstrated there for those who aren't American and listening. So I got a little bit of info just from Wikipedia as well, because I watched all of 3 episodes. I flew through it, and then I just kind of used that to reference a little bit of the dates and stuff, just trying to remember the dates and sort of things like that. What I'm going to do is I'll just sort of go through a little brief summary of it, and then we can discuss. Did you both actually watch all of it?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Great. Okay, cool. So then we can discuss. The series begins with a look at Aaron's childhood and upbringing in Bristol, Connecticut. He was born in 1989 to Dennis and Terry Hernandez. Aaron displayed his talent for football at an early age, and his father pushed him to excel. His father was very much considered by the community as like a man's man, like quite macho, kind of, I guess you would say. I think he was quite well known in the community as well. Although it seemed like their home life was quite turbulent, I think it seemed that he was a bit abusive to the boys and towards their mother, and he tended to drink quite a lot. But despite this, Aaron and his brother both, they feared his father, but they also idolized him. So he was, despite the difficult sort of home life, I think, they still really looked up to him. In 2006, Dennis died during routine hernia surgery, and Aaron took it very hard. Many of his friends and family said he never ever got over his father's death especially at that age, as being in high school at that time. That's when the turning point in his life sort of, you can see. At this time, he became really close with his cousin, Tanya Singleton. And eventually, as things became more difficult with his own mother, he eventually moved in with Tanya, and it appears this is when Aaron started to spend time with those involved in criminal activity. Also, at this time, it was revealed that his mother, Terry, had been having an affair with Tanya's husband, John Cummings, and they divorced, and John moved in with Terry, and Hernandez became estranged from his mother at this time, which must have been horrible. You lose your dad, and then your mom's swapped with your cousin's husband and had this affair. It's very Jerry Springer.
Yeah, I think it happened really quickly, didn't it, as well?
Yeah.
It's just really sad.
Yeah, so sad, because can you imagine, like, just you get up in the morning and there's this other man, not that long after your dad died, like, in his pants, just, making some eggs in the morning. You're like, what?
Yeah, that's what you have.
Yeah, so in the series, we also hear from his childhood friend, Dennis Sanscucci, I think that's how you say it, who claims they were in a secret sexual relationship throughout high school. During high school, Hernandez began heavily smoking marijuana, which continued throughout the rest of his life. He seemed to always smoke quite a lot. Although despite this, Hernandez did stay involved in football and sports in high school, and he was committed to play at the University of Connecticut with his brother DJ, but ultimately he chose to play for the University of Florida under head coach Urban Meyer. Now, again, University of Florida is a huge uni, like sports uni. I've had a lot of friends that went there. The Gators, they're a big team. A lot of NFL people go from the NFL, go on to play in the NFL. All right, Hernandez played for the Gators throughout college alongside Tim Tebow. He's another one. You might have heard his name. He's a really big star in the NFL now as well. It's apparent he continued to smoke heavily, like marijuana during this time, and use drugs. He was then selected by the New England Patriots in the 4th round draft pick, so 113th overall, in 2010. Hernandez despite how good he was on the field, a lot of teams were kind of skeptical to touch him because rumors of multiple failed drug tests and character concerns, and Hernandez received the lowest possible score in social maturity in the pre-draft report, which I actually didn't realize they did all that. I guess before they draft him, they want to see if they're going to be, a wild card or if they have issues with maturity.
Yeah, you think how much money they are spending on these people. Like, they have to be certain.
Yeah. And I think it sounded like they were spot on because he did continue to have issues as time went on, even with the Patriots. On June 18th, 2013, police searched Hernandez's home in connection with an investigation into the shooting death of a friend, Odin Lloyd, whose body was found with multiple gunshot wounds to the back and the chest in an industrial park about a mile from Hernandez's house. And he was eventually then charged on the 26th of that month. So about a week later, he was then charged with the murder. First-degree murder. The Patriots released Hernandez from the team about 90 minutes later. They were just like, bye. Yeah, no thanks.
No thanks. Not touching that one.
Nope. And they literally took out all his jerseys out of the shops. They took out...
I found that really interesting that people who had recently bought his jersey could come back and exchange it for somebody else.
It's wild, isn't it? It's just like, wow. They didn't waste any time. I think... Because I read a bit more about it all. Like, he had been having some issues. Like, they were kind of ready to get rid of him. But he was so good... And he had I think it was a 4-year, $40 million contract, 4 or 5 year, $40 million contract.
That's so much money.
I know.
And you're so young.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think that's probably some of the stuff with the social maturity. He ended up, which I didn't think that they said in the documentary, but he actually left high school. He graduated early at 17 and went down to U of F at 17. And so he was like that was like the worst thing I think that probably happened to him, because he definitely wasn't ready to go down there and be on his own with all that. And like we had said before, these sports players with these teams are just revered as, like, you know, they're like little celebrity. Yeah, gods, like local celebrities. So, you know, it's a big deal. So you get all that power almost, you know, and you're getting a lot. And U of F is a really hard school to get into. It's not easy to get into. It really isn't. And you know, I don't think he concentrated on grades that much, and not having any guidance, it just all seemed like it snowballed from there. 2 other men were also arrested in connection with Lloyd's death. On the 22nd of August, Hernandez was indicted by a grand jury for the murder of Lloyd, and he pleaded not guilty. April 15th, 2015, so like 2 years later, they had a trial, and at the trial, he was found guilty of murder in the first degree, a charge that in Massachusetts automatically carries a sentence of life in prison without a possibility of parole. They never actually established the motive for the murder. I hate bringing this up, and I'll say more on this at the end, but police investigated the possibility that Lloyd may have learned of Hernandez's bisexuality and that Hernandez was worried that Lloyd might out him to others, which this whole documentary is really problematic, but we'll get into that. Hernandez was investigated in connection with a double homicide that took place on July 16, 2012 in Boston. 2 immigrants from Cape Verde were killed by gunshots fired into their vehicle. While searching Tanya Singleton's home in connection with Lloyd's murder, they found the silver SUV that had been seen at the crime that was suspected, and it obviously hadn't been moved in years. It was just in her garage. And he was indicted on murder charges for the killing of both of those gentlemen. Please check out the website. I cannot say their name, and I don't want to butcher it and be completely disrespectful. But we will put the names on there. He was actually acquitted of these charges. He enlisted the help of Jose Baez, which was Casey Anthony's attorney.
God, if anyone's going to get you off anything.
Yeah,
it's that
exactly.
One. Jesus.
And, yeah, so he was actually acquitted of these charges. He did get him off of these charges there. And on the 19th of April, 2017, Hernandez was found hanged in his cell only 5 days after his acquittal. He left notes for his family, attorney, and his cellmate. There is a lot more to that story. I could go on, and obviously you guys have watched it, so there is more to that. I was trying to sort of outline the main plot points. Otherwise, we would have been here. I literally just tell you the entire documentary. So if you haven't actually watched it and you're interested, definitely go back and watch it. They really kind of put out the whole timeline of like everything in it. At the request of his family, Hernandez's brain was released to Boston University to be studied for signs of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. It's known as also as CTE. It's a progressive degenerative disease found in people who have had severe blows or repeated blows to the head, including football players, boxers, who suffer concussions, like repetitive concussions. The university did reveal that he did have severe CTE. So, like I said, you've seen that in other cases where sports players or like boxers or football players have ended up doing really uncharacteristic like things. They've become really violent or depressed or taken their own lives. So it's obvious that he physically did have something wrong with his brain from all these years of football.
Because he was quite young when he actually committed suicide. He was 27, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was really young. And they said it was really, really advanced in him, didn't they?
Exactly.
They showed, like, the scans of it.
Yeah.
And that was really shocking.
Yeah. It seemed like it probably didn't help. It sounded like he had chronic, like, drug abuse. I mean, whatever you think about marijuana or not, anything that you do heavily day in, day out is going to have an effect on you, like, no matter what. Between that, I think, you know, and that probably did contribute to his own mental state and perhaps his violent tendencies. Like I said, I did leave quite a lot out of the story. There's more. There's other further instances of his violence that they showed in the story. But like I said, just watch it. It was good in that respect. In my opinion, which I sort of mentioned earlier, they have this underlying story about his sexuality in the documentary, which doesn't fucking matter. Like, sorry. It made me angry because I just feel like I don't understand.
I know what you're saying. I felt that they were bringing it up to sensationalize it.
I think so, which I think was bullshit.
Yeah.
Because who cares? Like, who cares?
I think the idea, or at least like the message they were trying to get across, I mean, they kept repeating it over and over. It did feel like a bit sensationalized. But the idea that if he was gay or bi or what have you, he was in an environment that he could not be that way. He could not be, quote unquote, himself. So there's a lot of like internal turmoil of, you know, like him trying to process that sort of stuff and being in an environment that's very homophobic and hateful in that regard and stuff. So yeah, they just like they kept, I guess they've used that as one of the reasons why maybe he was so aggressive and angry and frustrated and that sort of stuff. But
yeah, I agree. Maybe that's what they were trying to do. I just felt like it's 2020. You know, I don't know. Let's not sensationalize that. I just feel like it makes it more taboo. I don't know. I feel like there were so many other proven things that he did, or that factors like when they analyzed his brain and how bad the CTE was, or the chronic drug abuse.
I felt that they jammed that CTE thing in at the end.
Yeah.
Like,
why? Yeah, why did
and then that was it. And it was like, well, we could have explained that a little bit more.
Well, that's like a proven scientific thing that affected him as a person. So why didn't you make it about that more so than the fact that he might have been gay or bisexual? I guess, I don't know. I don't know. I think, you know, and also there was a reporter. I guess there were rumors that were around for years or something. And there was a reporter that was diving into that. And about 2 days or 3 days before he took his life, she went on the radio and they were like it was a sports show and they were making jokes. They were making jokes that people in, I don't know, 1975 might have made about being a wide receiver and like trying to make that. And I was just like, disgusting, man. Like,
gross.
Really? I don't know. I was disappointed. Like, I think it was a really well produced, really informative documentary because I didn't actually know that much about it because it all went on since I've lived here. And it might have been on the news, but it wasn't like major news over here, was it? So I learned a lot about it.
I kind of knew like the rough outline. So I knew that he was an American football star and he was charged with murder and went to prison. But I didn't know that he'd been indicted on that second double homicide. And I didn't actually know that he'd killed himself. So when that came on, I was on the train, I was like, just like staring at my phone. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's great. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of things in it that I actually made a note and it just says, idiotic murderer. Like there was no attempt to clean the scene, half-assed attempts to dispose evidence, no attempt to hide or dispose of the body. He left like a blunt with his DNA on it at the scene. There were gun shells in the rental car.
Oh, it was...
Yeah, in his own name.
Yeah, it's so stupid. But there was like bubble gum on a shell casing. And he offered the rental lady a piece of bubble gum. And then the CCTV of him purchasing the bubble gum. And then he has the like audacity to plead not guilty. Do you think that it was like he believed his wealth and his status would protect him?
I think, unfortunately, with him, it's like the perfect storm. You have a combination of a kid. I mean, he is a kid that is, troublesome childhood, loses his father, has no guidance, has a poor relationship with his mother, uses drugs, parties, has no real consequences. It talks a lot about how the schools and the teams that he was on would often like cover up for his issues and stuff. So
Exactly.
there's no consequences. You've got all that on one side, incredibly immature kid, and on the other side you have brain damage, like repeated brain damage throughout puberty, really. Like a growing brain has been damaged. So you've got like both of these. So when it was talking about how he was leaving all the stuff at the scene, I think it is a combination of he's an idiot kid who never had consequences before and could do whatever he wanted and never got in trouble, and also has holes in his brain.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It was a perfect storm, really.
I think that he thought he was also kind of like untouchable as well. I scored
Definitely.
a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I think I'm, God
Hot
status.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will protect me from going to prison.
Yeah. They did talk a lot about his fiance as well, which I didn't really mention. Shania Jenkins. Is it Shania Jenkins, I believe? She was there at his trial, the first trial. His mother was at the first trial as well. And I think John Cummings, Tanya Singleton's ex-husband, they had appeared to still be together. And the family, I think, showed support during his first trial, but it looks like in the second trial, no one supported him at all, except for his fiance, who is the mother of his child. And it's really sad because you have this girl who will always grow up and never know her father, and the things she will know are not nice, and still sort of always, she's an innocent victim in it all as well.
What did you think about, like, Tanya in general? Like, Tanya Singh, his cousin?
Yeah, that's weird.
Because she was really poorly, wasn't she? She had cancer.
Yeah, she died of cancer, didn't she? While he was in prison.
She refused to testify against him and was found in contempt of court and went to prison.
Yeah.
And that affected her health and her cancer treatment.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
I found that really shocking.
Yeah, that is loyalty, isn't it?
Especially when you know that there's a car in your garage that most definitely was used in a crime. And you're going to take that, like, you know they're going to find it, surely, but you're going to take that fall anyway and go to prison because you'd rather not say it.
Yeah, that was... The story has a lot of different complex, like, pieces moving around it. And the fact that actually Odin Lloyd was his fiance's sister's boyfriend. So, you do find it, you do wonder what the motive was for it. We'll never know, but, a motive was never revealed.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting had they spent a bit more time on the CTE stuff. Because they touch on it, but I remember, maybe because my dad watches a lot of football, but I remember the guy who, they mentioned it briefly, shot himself in the chest as suicide. So, because he wanted to kill himself, but also because he wanted to preserve his brain. Like, I remember my dad telling me that, being like, holy shit. Like, this guy knew that he had this, I can't say that word, brain.
Degenerative.
Thank you. And wanted to kill himself, but didn't want to damage his brain so they could study it. So shot himself in the chest. And just like, yeah, I feel like they didn't really spend enough time on those sorts of consequences and, like, having really young kids playing such a high contact sport. And I know they have helmets on, but it's almost worse when the helmets hit because your head, like, rocks back and forth in the helmet and just, like, ugh.
The thing is like, obviously rugby is... They don't have pads, and they have it. But because they have the pads, they're less careful.
Because they're meatheads, let's face it.
Yeah. Well, the
Six Nations is coming up. I'm very excited. Because I love men's thighs.
God bless.
Yes. The thing is, with rugby, obviously, they can only go so hard. They don't take the chances and hit each other as hard as they do in the NFL because they have the pads. The pads almost make it worse. This is what I've been told. Yeah. And that's why there's more injuries and more head injuries, because they just go, they're like, well, I got a helmet on. Yeah. But actually, which is why you don't see as many in rugby.
Yeah, it's still an issue in, like, English football as well, like soccer, about like whether or not repeatedly heading a ball is giving you that same sort of contact. And I know that there was a big thing about trying to reduce the amount that people did that, and some well-known footballers were like going in for studies and things like that. So
Yeah.
I thought it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. But so what did you guys think of it? On a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give it?
I'd say a solid 4. I found the first episode a bit annoying because it spent like the first 35 minutes interviewing all these people saying, I can't believe Aaron would do this. Aaron would never do that. Aaron was such a nice kid. Aaron was so great. And it's like, okay, could have had 2 of these interviews and then we can move on. I get that everybody's surprised, but like, let's carry on, please. But once we got past that bit of Aaron's so fantastic, and they actually start going more chronological order of what happened, I thought it was really well done. And a lot of different interviews, a lot of different, like you said, a lot of different moving parts and different things you could, focus on and whatever. But I thought they covered it in a logical way. It made a lot of sense. It was really interesting.
I gave it a 3.5 because I found it very choppy. Like all the episodes I found quite choppy. So it was like 1 minute it was talking about his girlfriend allegedly disposing of a gun locker, and then it switches to Aaron having a homosexual relationship with a school teammate, and then it was like switches to something else and then switches to something else.
It did that, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I did think that they did explain the relationships very, very clearly, like very, very well, because I feel like if they didn't, I wouldn't understand the story at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, really well produced. I thought it was good, but like 3.5 because sometimes it was hard to follow. It just wasn't put together well.
Cohesive. It wasn't as cohesive as it could be.
Yeah, definitely.
I see what you mean. And actually, that's kind of the reason I had to refer back to Wikipedia a little bit, because I was trying to get the clear chronological order of what had happened, because you're right, it does do that. I mean, I'll give it can I give it a 3.8? I'm going to.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So,
it's your podcast too, Anna.
I did. It was interesting. Like, it kept my attention. It held my attention. I didn't really know anything about the whole thing, so it was all new to me. I didn't know a lot about it. Generally well produced. You're right. It was a little chopsy. And the only problem I found is I didn't think that the sexuality was as big of. I think you're right. They were sensationalizing it over, maybe gone with the CTE aspect of it, because that was like something they could really prove and show the long-term effects of.
Weird Crime Time.
So for this week's Weird Crime Time, we are going back to Canada. I think it was Hannah shared this one in our group chat, and I thought, this is so horrifically awful that I have to do this one, and I'm so sorry in advance. Headline is, a smiling serial shitter is terrorizing Toronto. And it's so bad. I'm so sorry. If you're eating right now, please stop eating or stop listening. It's just not nice. So police are investigating, and they've actually most recently arrested somebody. They were investigating 3 incidents in which a man dumped buckets of, quote, liquefied fecal matter, unquote, on unsuspecting people.
What?
Oh, no. No.
Oh, God.
I can't think of anything. Can you imagine Monday night, you're, I don't know, waiting for your train, and a man runs by with a bucket of something you don't know what, and then he dumps it on you and runs away.
I can't think of a bucket of anything worse being thrown on me than that.
Liquefied fecal matter.
I'd take a bucket of anything else over that.
I'd take a bucket of that hot sauce that I tried to eat all over my body instead.
Straight in your eyes.
Yeah, like, that's fine. Give me the scorpions.
Wait, so was he like shitting in a bucket and then like saving it to dump on people?
That is unanswered at this point. So police have arrested the alleged serial shitter, but there was 3 events. We can assume it was done by the same person. I don't think a copycat would take this over.
Oh my God.
Sorry. In each instance, the man rolled up on an unsuspecting person, dumped a bucket of liquefied fecal matter on them, and took off. My first question was just that. I'm assuming the fecal matter is his own. At which point, why are you shitting like that? Like, you need to check your diet.
Or is he like liquefying it.
How?
This was some. I don't want to speculate.
I don't talk about it.
But we live in Kent, and I went on a hike the other day, and I walked past basically a farm, and it was like free manure
All right.
that you could just like drive up to.
What, and take the cow shit off the
Yeah, you can
field.
take like buckets of like donkey crap basically, or like horse crap. I don't know what type of crap it was. It was just said free manure, and it was in one of those dodgy like hand painted signs, and I was like, oh, but it's really good for the garden.
Yeah, of course.
So maybe I don't know whether there's many farms in Toronto where you can do that.
Not really.
I doubt it. Yeah.
So they were pretty sure it was human.
Well, that was the first question as well. So one of the instances, which is makes me so sad. A man was sitting at a table inside the Roberts Library at the University of Toronto. He's in the university library, hopefully studying, but doing something nice and quiet. He's minding his own business. This guy runs in, dumps a bucket over his head, and then runs out. The article we'll post on the website, they're basically like, we didn't know what it was. Like, obviously he wasn't shouting, here's my shit, and then running out. He was just dumping it. But then they're saying, like, once the odor set in and they realized how awful it smelled, and the one guy compared it to the smell you'd get at a porta potty.
Oh.
Just awful. And then they've been calling him the smiling serial shitter because every time he's been caught on camera running around with his bucket, he's grinning, which is so eerie and awful.
I think that makes it twice as worse.
Yeah.
If you're grinning about it.
So the update was that they arrested Samuel Opoku, who's 23, of dumping, quote, liquefied fecal matter, end quote, on 5 different people.
Oh.
So he's still due into court. I guess a couple questions. Where is the liquid coming from? Why did he decide to do this?
Why did you get pleasure out of it? If you're smiling.
Yeah. I can't, like I said, I can't think of anything worse. I'd rather the hot sauce dumped on me. And especially the fact that it's like a stranger's bodily fluids on you.
Ugh.
So if you are out in Toronto, ideally around the University of Toronto area, please be aware. Be on the lookout. If someone is smiling and carrying a bucket, do not trust them.
I think that's all we have for today. But please check out our website, murderfriends.com. You can catch any sources that we've used today or articles. We'll have linked there. If you want to send us an email, murderfriendspod@gmail.com. Send us any of your weird crimes or any of your suggestions on what to listen to or watch or read. Follow us on Twitter, MurderFriendsPD, or Instagram, MurderFriendsPod. And we'll talk to you later.
Bye.